Hello fellow crafters and welcome to maxdmcrafting. What you are watching is an original footage from 2007. You already know that I'm renovating my crafting studio, which involves not only the reorganization inside the new room of the tools, the props, the lights, etc. I'm also digging in the ancient archives, selecting the material to be saved and making sure everything is properly stored. It was during one of these digital explorations that I found this old footage, shot by a young Max who was proud of his Fortified Manor by Games Workshop set. I thought it would be worth doing a little retrospective review with you to evaluate what and how much has changed in my way of seeing our hobby in the last 15 years. First of all, let's say that this was my first game table created in its entirety. Before this scenario, I had only created individual scenic elements to throw on the green carpet: hills, groups of trees, cultivated fields. The maximum of my skills also had me led to the construction of a modular river in perfect Warhammer fantasy style. Another very important thing. In Italy, in the early years of modeling for wargame, nobody used XPS foam to create scenic models, or at least not as we understand it today. Those techniques were reserved for the world of real dioramas, nativity scenes, which are very well developed category in Italy, and technical representations such as building models or the representation of projects in scale. Even the railway modeling category made extensive use of it, but no one, I repeat, no one used expanded polystyrene for their wargaming tables. A large part of the use was made of resin scenic models, and if there really was a need to create some scenery, good old polystyrene was used, that is, chaotic mess of white dots. Very wide use of balsa wood and cardboard of different thicknesses. Everything was covered with a generous pour of putty and glue, and that's it. Now, from these very first images, you will surely have already noticed the shimmer of these miniatures. It is not a problem with the lights of these images, at least not totally. In those days I had a bad habit to finishing my miniatures already painted badly in themselves with a layer of glossy protective varnish. Bravo Max, you have already tortured these miniatures with a bad painting. Give them the final coup de grace with the glossy paint, you idiot. Okay, this is a video about the experience gained, and it would not be such without everything that has improved over the years. There was no idea of flocking, just green sawdust for the lawn and brown for the paths. This wargame table was designed as a modular set, but unfortunately made as a fixed one. The 4 modules were so specific that they could only be combined in the way you see here. Today I would certainly give it greater game dynamism by creating completely interchangeable parts. Trees all purchased, spending a fortune on the very expensive GW sets. One thing that has never changed, however, is the fact of creating my terrain to be interesting from the point of view of the story. The access to the protected territory was through the main gate, but there were several possibilities to climb the rocks or find secret caves. Crossing the river could be done thanks to the ford, well indicated by the presence of flat rocks outcropping, or by risking the current. With a deeper exploration, the Great Rock Staircase, inspired by Siri Tungol's Long Staircase, would have been discovered. At the top, a suspended bridge and difficult terrain. Not bad. The river was created by painting the river bed with some shades of blue and covering everything with a transparent polish. No resin, no water effects, nothing. Jeez! Look at those rocky mountains. Hours of carving with the X-Acto knife, tons of white dots scattered all over the house, and for what? Banana rocks that don't even have a little rock-like texture. In my defense, I can say that that was the classic system for creating rocky elements. It can be seen not only in the peripheral rocks, but also at the edge of the plateau. Poor models, tortured by my brush. Worthy of note are Malekith, the Witch King on the Black Dragon, and the legendary Archeon on horseback. Knights of Chaos, Goblins of the Night, and Wild Orcs, these lands have been conquered by the war scum. Returning to the game strategy of this table, let's talk about the plateau, enriched by the beautiful set of the Fortified Manor. The access road was a showy central staircase, but you could also reach a small side ladder by crossing a dense bush. Note that the tiles were made with thin cardboard. So gross! Needless to say, how many fantastic hours of gaming I spent on this table. Today I would do everything very differently and, let's face it, better. This is not the point, however. The point is the journey, the experience gained, the techniques learned. It is not a question of denying the past, but of remembering every step that has put us on the path we are on, where we never stop learning. I hope you enjoyed this slightly different video, guys. Share, like and subscribe, and until next time, happy crafting!